it comes to the album The Fall Off by J. Cole, I'm going to be genuinely honest and say I really had an entertaining time listening to this project. Firstly, it is stacked to the teeth with lyricism, which I genuinely loved and enjoyed. We get funny lines like "put so many kids in your mouth, I call it daycare," or we get some really clever play on words with graveyards and destitute economies, full of thugs' bones for refusing to move in harmony, which, if you know, is a very clever play on words with Bone Thugs and Harmony, the hip-hop group. Cole has so many of these lines throughout, which I think on a first time listen, a lot of them you can miss, but on a second time you really notice and see that he puts so much of these lines in that you'll be so focused on one, you'll miss a completely other one. This is something that kept happening through my first listen. On the second one, I think each listen you're hearing something new, and I think that's a really cool thing, especially for someone his age, to still put in that a lot of craft and effort into the lyrics, in which he pointed out himself is when we're in a period where lyrics aren't the most intriguing thing for a lot of audience members, and I think it's really great that he's still showing that effort. Not only that, but the concepts he puts onto some of these albums, while a lot of them are references to old school songs, I like that he is still showing respect to old hip hop. Not only that, but he puts on new concepts like the songs What If, for example, and it's really showing that he can be this creative and put in new ideas, as well as take a lot of inspiration from the old. This album is filled with so much homage to old school hip hop, especially the 90s decade, whether it be sampling DMX, Common, interpreting Nas, Queen Latifah, and so many other artists. And it's really nice to see Cole do this, paying so much homage or interpreting artists and putting his own / modern spin on that particular interpretation. And yeah, like I said, I just like seeing an artist giving off so much respect and homage to hip-hop. Not only is he paying homage to hip-hop, but his hometown of Fayetteville gets an extraordinary shout out throughout this entire album. Whether that being good or bad, he's just showing love, talking about it, how he grew up there, what's going on lately, and going back there in between the decades. It's really nice to hear, as there's a few hip-hop artists who in the early days will shout out their hometown, but as soon as they get the huge bucks and become huge and famous, they kind of don't mention them as much. Only when they're having to reference the past, nothing new. And yeah, so I really respect Cole on that front. The production on this album is fantastic. Whilst I would say there's probably one or two tracks where the beat is the lacking element on the song, overall there are so many great beats, very old school, modern day, and a lot of very different and creative instrumentals. The song Let Out, for example, is something I've never heard from Cole, but I genuinely thought it was such a great and different track in the best way possible. Not only that, but the backing vocals and layers added onto these songs make it sound more than just the average hip-hop song. It makes it sound bigger. The hooks on this album are really good as well. I think some of them where Cole is singing is quite extraordinary. His singing game's getting better, and the samples he uses again really add to the song, especially soul samples really add emotion to it, like this track Man Up Above. That one is extraordinary because of the sample. What I really loved about this album is the parallels on both discs. So there's a track on disc 29 called Who the F Is You, and it starts off with ring ring, who the F is that? This is a 901 number, so you hear that. And then you hit on disc 39 on the track Old Dog, the same line. And it's kind of interesting to hear, like 10 years later, he's still having that same code calling and it's still the same exact situation. But then we also hear how Cole deals with fans and how he feels when they show him love. We get an instance of this on the track Bunts Road Blues on disc 29, where it's someone saying 2 months ago, someone spotted me, they said, "What's up, Cole? I love you, Bo. I'm proud of you, that touched my soul." And then on the track Quick Stop on Disc 39, we have an entire song where Cole has a random meetup with a fan who is just showing so much love and appreciation for his music and how much it moved him and changed him and impacted his life. And you can hear from Cole and his passion how much that touched him, and he reciprocates that love that he's just been given back to the fan. And I really loved this, as it shows that whatever Cole is and whatever situation, when he is given that love, he is always willing to give it back, as it really has touched him in such a way, and he just wants to show how much that meant to him. I thought it was quite a cool thing to see. And then lastly, what I loved about this album is Disc 29. There's an entire concept throughout the track list of seeing Cole returning to his hometown and seeing that how different it feels to him now that he is rich and famous, and seeing how, if anything, worse it has gotten with the amount of death this town has suffered through, and how he doesn't feel the same when he left for Hollywood businesses, and how, if anything, it's quite a huge change to deal with. Now, while I do enjoy this album, I do feel like it does have some issues. Firstly, as much as I love Disc 39, I will say I do feel a bit sad that it doesn't have the continuing theme that Disc 29 started and ended with, and more just went down the route of just making random songs. And I'm not angry at that. I just wish that Cole stuck with the concept that he started off with in Disc 29 and continued it, and not just make songs like What If and I Love Her Again, which again, great songs, just don't fit the theme that he was building up. Not only that, but my second criticism is about, while Cole is fantastic on this album, I do have my issues with his feature artists. I think they're the ones letting the album down, whether it be Burna Boy on the track Only You, as Cole has set up what I think is actually quite a cool and intriguing concept about his life right now and the mundane things he's doing, only for Burna Boy to, one, get too much time on the song and kind of just drag it down, and I just felt more bored by the track, if anything. And the same could be said about Future on the track Bunts Road Blues. Another thing I found issue with was Cole's hooks. Now, the majority of them are very good, but there are quite a few where I feel like Cole is phoning in. It sounds a tad lazy. Tracks like Life Sentences, for example, where he's interpreting DMX, and The Whole World Is the Ville, they're okay hooks. I just think they bring the song down a bit in my eyes. And lastly, while I do love the concepts that Cole comes up with, I don't think he really adds anything new or exciting, or if anything, change what the originator had done when they came up with it. Those are my criticisms. Now let's move on to the track lists and my thoughts on each individual track. Starting with track 29, which is just basically an insight into what the album's going to be. That's a celebration of North Carolina and Fayetteville as a whole, but also violence will be attached, and the conversation about death will also be a huge shadow throughout the project. Then we move swiftly onto the track 2-6, which was a great opening track with not only a catchy hook with a great fast-paced beat, but getting Cole just rapping with passion about not only his career, but how his skill has improved and essentially been the best in the game. Afterwards is Safety, which is another great track from instrumentally to the concept and the hook. This is just Cole rapping from a friend's perspective who is contacting him and giving him the latest details about people in his hometown, and sadly it's not all good. A lot of death being mentioned, and me in particular, I feel like this gives off a lot of Stan vibes, with the structure of this man contacting Cole, but unlike Stan, he's not a depraved fan, but a close friend who is letting Cole in on the news in the town. The second verse in particular gave me a Stan feel for how it opens, but also talking about his daughter hearing his music. The third verse in particular is about a gay person both Cole and the friend knew, and their somewhat regret of how they treated him as they found that he later died. Now, I think the way they go about it is good, but there is a particular line which does really catch out, and it's the dick and booty types. I think it comes off a bit ignorant from Cole's perspective, and while yeah, it's supposed to be his friend saying this to Cole, at the same time it doesn't make him or hip-hop look like they're particularly well aware or adjusted to the LGBTQ community, and I think there can be a lot of criticism towards this song, but at the same time it is showing that they're trying their best to change. I think that's all we can really hope for, and hopefully they learn from this. Afterwards is Run a Train, which is a song I really love because it's got this quite slow but also dark beat mixed in. My only issue I have with it is Future's hook, which is really good, but it's that first line I can never quite understand, as it sounds like he's saying, "Fuck do you know about my piss," which just throws me off, and to this day I still don't quite know what he's saying. I think the word's past, but the backing vocals by Cole during the hook adds to the emotional weight that Future delivers too. I enjoyed Cole rapping about his past and the violence he encountered as a young'un, questioning if anything changed since leaving and coming back. After that, we get the track Poor Fang, which starts off with just Cole rapping about the struggle and the violence he has seen. But then, on the second and third verse, he talks about a particular person who has been going at him around this particular time and how he's contemplating wanting to hurt this particular person, but at the same time, he knows that's not who he is in his true form. And so, lyrically, he breaks down this person, talking about this fake persona he's putting on, the fact that he actually knew him because they went to school and they're quite similar, but this person is pretending to be something that he's completely not. And it's really quite cool to see Cole get into this rap beef type bag we rarely see him in, and he's quite energized and angry towards this person as well, which is really rare for Cole as a person. When on the mic, he's not that kind of rapper, and so it's really quite a intriguing thing to see. After that is Legacy, which I don't mind, but it's not a favourite, as I think the hook is a bit weak and I felt he's done better love songs. This song could be about hip hop or an actual woman with certain lyrics moving me to either side. The beat isn't terrible, but it's nothing special in comparison to the previous songs. After that, we have the track Bunts Road Blues, which has one of the best Cole verses, going very passionate, and I just really love that there's a lot of energy with this song. The beat as well is fantastic. I love the backing vocals, and it's not even him who produced it, it's Alchemist. My issue is when it gets to Future, who has this pocket of flow which he does twice, and I really enjoy it, but then it just fades in. So it goes and it bothers me so much. And then we get Thames, who starts singing, and my first listen I kind of thought it was lackluster, but the more I've listened to it, the more it's grown on me, and I actually really enjoy it, especially on that end hook that he does. That to me was fantastic. Next is Who the F Is You, which is a fantastic energized type song with the beat alone and Cole experimenting with flows, especially in the second one, as it has this Eminem Slim Shady type feel in his earlier days. And it's quite interesting to see, as it took me a few listens to really notice it, and when you do, you're kind of like, oh, that's really cool. I have no hatred towards it, I really love it, and I really enjoy the verses on this song, because as the first one it's quite braggadocious, the second verse is talking about quite a traumatic thing he had witnessed whilst back in the Ville, and then it goes back into the braggadociousness in the third verse. Overall, this is such a great energized type song. I really love hearing it. Next is Drum and Bass, which has some of the best J. Cole lyrics in this song, whether it being I was raised in shark infested waters, or I could feel the town tired of its steady diet of death, or something along those lines. It's really poetic, brilliant lines. My main issue with this song is its narcoleptic drum beat, which we see fade in and out for more than half of the song, which is really disappointing, as not only is Cole really spitting on this actual song, but the hook is actually quite hooking as well. It's quite an intriguing hook. It's the beat though that really is the lackluster element on this track. But then we move on to The Let Out, my personal favourite off the album, as it's nothing beat-wise Cole has ever rapped on. Everything about this song is great. The beat, the hook, the story Cole is conveying about a club shooting, and instead of it being him killing people, he is trying to free, which I like. It feels realistic. Then we move on to what is supposedly the last track of the album, Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas, which I enjoyed hearing Cole find love, and its beat transition was beautiful to hear, and the singing is great to hear also. And the last verse was cool, seeing him come up with the concept of the fall off and having such a deep line. Life is like a film, it can't be unwound. That is beautiful and poetic. And then we move on to the bonus track of the album, that being Lonely at the Top, which I really enjoyed. As a fan, you could also relate to what Cole is saying, possibly wanting a younger artist to really work with some of the older hip-hop heads, and maybe by working with them you re-inspire them. But at the same time, I can also see what he is saying, that maybe it's not the artist who has changed, but us the fans, and that's why their new music isn't hitting as much as their older music. Then we move on to disc 39, track 39, which was a fantastic opening track, hearing Cole start off singing and making a different genre in music altogether, which is really good. But slowly he goes back into rapping, and honestly he sounds so hungry as he's doing this, and there's so much poetry and lyricism that flies at you. One of my favourite lines in the song, rap brothers gotta be in vogue to pose threats. Poetry like that, just amazing. And what I love about the song is how the beats meld in together, so we're getting this beautiful rock song and then we slowly seeing it meld into the hip hop, and then the transition with the gunshots, amazing. Such a great way to open up an album. After that we get the fall off is inevitable, which I really enjoyed from the concept, as it's him rapping his life backwards, and ode to Nas's Rewind, and honestly it's very clear and shows his skill is unmatched, and he in fact did not let Nas down. The Villas was a fun and dark track, seeing Cole interpret Outkast's Elevators while rapping about his dreams and his rise to succeed them, but also the tragedy life brings even if you get your dream. Also how money isn't always the answer, as he says, if money brings happiness, explain to me the rich bastards who never bought their way to Zen. Such poetry in this type of song, which makes it one of my favourites. Old Dog was another great track, whether it be the drums, which were quite heavy and energetic, to Cole's smooth flow, but also the hook was very hard and also energetic. My only issue with this track is how short it really feels, as the verses Cole deliver amazing, but I just wish we got a third one, as I love this beat. It's more of a selfish thing, if anything. I think it would have been amazing to get a third verse in this song. Sadly, we then move on to the track Life Sentences, which I don't hate. I think Cole's interpretation of DMX for a hook was okay. It was interesting to learn about Cole's relationship with his now wife, but my main issue with the song is how he doesn't condemn or condone the infidelity he had, or there was no real self-criticism towards that aspect in his life. He just talks about it as if, yeah, it happened, but with no actual feeling towards it. It's like, yeah, which, I don't know, it kind of bothers me. And then we get another example of Cole doing quite a decent job, only for the feature to fumble it, as we're getting Cole talking about his mundane lifestyle, kind of like folding clothes, but I actually really enjoyed this, and I think he had a really good setup, only for Burna Boy to, one, get way too much time on this track, and to just not deliver in my eyes. But we then get the track Man Up Above, which again, soul sample for the hook was beautiful. It really added some emotion to this song, and what Cole is talking about is also really intriguing. He's telling a story about a friend of his going to jail. Next is I Love Her Again, which, while it's a concept that has been done, he does a decent spin on it, with continuing where Common left his version and made the girl go to Atlanta and the internet era of hip-hop, and talks about how hip-hop, while getting older, still tries to attract the young. The beat and the hook are the most driving forces on the track, but Cole does a great job when it comes to lyrics. Now we get What If, which I will say is the most original concept on the album, that being what if Biggie wrote a letter to Tupac after releasing Hit 'Em Up, and if the two actually had more of a discussion instead of going in hard-headed as they did. And I really respect Cole for having this concept. Obviously he's reached a level of maturity where, imagine if these artists at their age had that level of maturity and thought about it. That's one side which I really do do respect and love about this song, but at the same time I do also feel that Cole could have rapped about a beef that he was actually in and maybe talk from those people's perspective, as obviously he was involved in that beef. But one could say this is also a metaphor for what happened with those two artists as well. Quick Stop was quite the song. I loved the hook, and the beat is quite slow and no drums, which I didn't notice until a few listens in. The story Cole tells is very passionate, and it shows as the track progresses, somewhat reminding me of Colossus by Tyler the Creator, but instead of an awkward encounter, it touched Cole and made him proud of his work and his influence on his audience. And then we move on to the last track, And the Whole World Is the Ville. I love the beat. I really think J. Cole excels lyrically on his verses. My main issue is towards the hook, which I think is a bit underwhelming, as well as the fact that for a song that is closing off the album, it doesn't feel like it is, and it's also supposedly the last song of his entire career, and it just doesn't feel like that, at least to me. But as it is his last song, he is dedicating it to the Ville, which I love, and he is showing so much passion for hip-hop. Then we move on to the last bonus track, Ocean Ways. Now, I like it as a conceptual track, that being it's about Cupid planning to assassinate Cole with love and breaking him from the somewhat lifestyle he was living at quite a young age and changing him into the man he is now. That I love. I was just not a big fan of the track on the first few listens. I think Cole's singing is really good, it's just not for me. Overall, this album is amazing. It has a lot of great highs, and while Cole is not providing much new in the way of concepts and stories, he is showing how fantastic not only his pen game but his production has been getting, showing that he can either make really great poetic songs as well as turn up songs. For all those reasons, is this album good? No. It's fucking great. Rating wise, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. Now, would I re-listen to it? The answer is of course I'm re-listening to it. Not only because I think the production is great, the lyricism, but I bet there's so much I'm missing I could be discovering on more listens as I go. I've listened to this album more than a dozen times, so I bet I've nearly completed it. It's more just memorising the lyrics now, which I will say is quite a struggle with certain songs. On to recommendations, I think Cole really became the better artist that we've seen today from 2014 Forest Hill Drives onwards, as I think he ditched the shallow songs that he was making, all about these corny ass club love bangers trying to find a hit, which I'm glad he buried from 2014 Forest Hills Drive onwards, and he's making more meaningful and relatable songs like No Role Models and Love Yours. Also, his feature game is unmatched. He is one of the greatest when it comes to features. Two of my favourite are Bob Lobo, which I believe was the first one I ever heard. Him and Royce da 5'9" did a fantastic story-based track, telling different stories but somewhat relatable, and honestly he kills it. Not only that track, but I also recommend the track with Bia called London. She delivers a great hook and a very decent verse, but Cole comes in, it's just utterly amazing. Definitely recommend them. Now, if you are like me and you do enjoy J. Cole and that you want to listen to artists who have a similar vibe or heavy influence from Cole, I would definitely recommend the artist Logic, because he's definitely been influenced by Cole. He says it himself. He raps about Cole quite a lot of references throughout his years, and I think his retirement album, No Pressure, in the same vein as this, is just showing how great of an artist he was when he retired, making some really great turn-up music, but also just making a great fun album and a great bon voyage to his audience, which is what we want. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for J. Cole's The Fall Off. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.